The space show where he played the robot, the movies based on the space show where he played the robot, and the recent streaming series also based on the space show where he played the robot. In animation, which we can't talk about, his work includes Star Wars Rebels and Young Justice, is a very undervalued and underrated version of the Joker, and his book, Fan Fiction, a memoir, is still available at fine book outlets. Please welcome Mr. Brent Spiner.
No, you know what? That's a little shtick I do sometimes, and it's funny the first time, and I do it again and again and again, and then finally the 10th time, it's funny again. See, that was only 2, so all right, enough of that. Hi, everybody. So bright.
I don't.
Can they like see us if they don't have this like a spotlights on? I can't see you. It's too.
But we can see you.
Help me. Someone.
Now all 4 lights.
Yeah. I see 10 lights. Okay.
You can ask for that, and I can't. So there we go.
Yeah. Thank you so much, by the way, my people. Hi, everybody. Well, here I am out here alone today, and oh, hey, sorry.
Hi.
Hi.
First of all, how you been? Haven't seen you since Raleigh.
Raleigh. I saw you in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yeah,
That was terrific.
And
A very nice city, Raleigh, but it's not Austin.
no, it's not. And we are in your home state.
I'm a Texan. I'm proud of it. Some of it. You know what I mean. Yeah. Proud of Austin. Okay.
All right. So this is 101. So for those that don't know it, I'd love to hear your origin story. What compelled you to be an actor?
Nothing compelled me. I just thought it would be easy. There's not much competition. You just, knock on a door and say, I'd like to be in a Broadway show. And they say, come on. And, no, actually, I had a teacher. Same teacher? No, I always wanted to be an actor. I mean, I don't know why. I like to get a laugh. That was really what it was about. And when I was a little kid, my hero was Jerry Lewis. And I loved Jerry when I was a kid. And I still love him. But I actually spent a day with him once, which is a whole other story. But we went to this was back, I'm old, so when I was a little kid, he was still partnered with Dean Martin, and so it was Dean and Jerry, and I loved them. And actually, my grandparents one year gave my brother and I, my older brother and I, a Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis puppet theater. There was this little cardboard theater and hand puppets that were Dean and Jerry, and a record, little red record, that a Dean and Jerry routine was on, and my brother, of course, took Jerry, and I had to have the Dean Martin puppet, which killed me at the time. in later years, I was happy to have the Dean Martin puppet. Not that my brother and I still did it, but you know, interestingly, I did, years later, a guy gave me, after I was doing Threshold, and one of the writers on Threshold said, I have a present for you. And he gave me Dean and Jerry hand puppets and a little red record. And I said, if you put that on, I remember the routine, and I could do it. And Mark Hamill had the same puppets. It's just to throw a name at you. But that was the story of my life. My brother always got, you know, first choice of everything. My uncle, back in the day, we used to have, well, you know, this is Texas, right? We had rodeos. And did they have rodeos in Austin? Yes. Yeah. Well, what's that? On 6th Street. All right. Well, I'm leaving now. But I went to a Roy Rogers and Dale Evans rodeo when I was a little kid. It was in Houston. And my uncle bought these beautiful sequined and fringe shirts. Roy Rogers and Dale Evans shirts. And of course I got the Dale Evans shirt. And I've never recovered from that, actually, as many of you know. But to get back to your question, what's your name again? Patty. So I always, you know, we had a 2-story house, and I would fall down the stairs at my house just to get a laugh from my family. And I would always get a laugh. I'd be laying there bleeding and bruised, but they were laughing, and that's all I cared about. And so years later, when I got into high school particularly, there was a teacher at my high school. I went to Beller High School in Houston, Texas. And you know where that is, right? It's 2.5 hours from here. And you go through LaGrange, and I had this great teacher who, his name was Cecil Pickett. My high school drama class, there were people in the class, you know, Randy and Dennis Quaid both came through that class, and my oldest friend, Tommy Shalami, who created The West Wing with Aaron Sorkin, was in that class. Marianne Williamson, who ran for president in 2020, I think. She was in that class. I think she's going to try to run again this year. But she's a very smart woman, but I think someone's got it locked up. But I don't know. And so he was a great teacher, and you know, so many of his students. When I left college, because he also went to college, and all of us followed him into school at the University of Houston. We all just went, and we all assumed we were going to be able to work in professional show business because he was such a good teacher, and he basically said, yeah, you're going to do fine. And when I went to New York, I went to the Strasberg Institute in New York to study acting. I've never seen anyone who was in my class since then, but all these people from my high school drama class, I see all the time doing things. It's really amazing. So he was something.
And theater, you've done some really good work on stages.
I've been on stage.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
No. The 1776 from the revival with Pat Hingle, director, I absolutely adore. What was that like?
Oh, it was great. It was great. I mean, you know, when I first went to New York, I drove a cab, and I think I had some of you in my cab. You know, and audition. Finally, I got a break, and I got into a show, and then one thing led to another, and that's the way it works. But when I left New York to come out to LA, I had done at that point, I think, 3 or 4 Broadway shows, And I was in a show called Sunday in the Park with George, which was a Stephen Sondheim show. And
Patinkin and Bernadette Peters.
Mandy Patinkin, Bernadette Peters, myself, and others. And but yeah, that was a remarkable experience because I got to work with Stephen Sondheim, who is the greatest genius of the my time anyway in the theater, and so, but I only stayed in that show for 4 months because I didn't have a role that really was just, I couldn't wait to do it for a year. I mean, it was an okay part, and but it didn't really, I knew I just had to keep moving on. I was trying to build my body of work, and so I was the first person to leave the show. And so I went from that show into another show called The Three Musketeers that was a Rudolph Fremel operetta, but it was on Broadway. I was one of the Musketeers, and it closed in a week. It lost something like $12 million in a week, and it was really bad. I, of course, was excellent.
Young actor Brent Spiner, of course, is joining in the role. Everything else is dross.
Exactly. So I came to LA right after that show, and as soon as I got to LA, I got this phone call. Would you be interested in doing Big River on Broadway? And it was already playing; it had already opened, and I knew the director. And I said, well, I just got to LA, and I said, you know what? What's the part? He told me the part was, there's the Duke and the Prince. It's based on Huckleberry Finn. It's a musical version of Huckleberry Finn. And the Duke and the Prince was being played at that time by René Auberjonois, who originated the part, got a Tony Award nomination for it, and they needed somebody to replace René because he had to leave. And so I said, yeah, okay, I'll do that. And so I went into Big River. I came back to New York, was in Big River, and then I got a call. Would you do? They're doing a television version of Sunday in the Park with George for PBS. Can you do that? And I said, well, I'm doing Big River at night. And they said, well, we're going to shoot during the day. And I said, all right. So we shot during the day, Big River, and then I would go do my show at night of, Sunday in the Park, and I'd go do Big River at night. And then one day they said, look, we're finished shooting all the pieces, but what we'd like to do is one complete run-through of Sunday in the Park with George with an audience. So we had that to shoot too. And I said, okay, but I'm not sure I remember the whole, I remembered it, but so they said, we'll do a matinee, and you can do the matinee of Sunday in the Park with George, and then you have about 15 minutes to run across town and make the evening performance of Big River. And so I did it just because it was exciting. It was actually, it was the easiest day of work I had ever done because I was so excited about the idea of doing two different Broadway shows in one day. And I don't think that's any kind of a record or anything. I think Cynthia Nixon did that at one time. She did two different shows for like 6 months, but it was thrilling. So to get to your question, so then I came back to LA, and I did a TV show called what was it called? Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Space show.
I knew it was a space show, but I couldn't remember which one. And after that, I got a call. Would I come to New York to audition for the part of John Adams in 1776, the first Broadway revival? And I thought, John Adams? I said, I'm not right for that part. I mean, I loved the show, but I said, and that's the part. But I said, I don't think I'm really right for it. You can find somebody better than me. And they said, well, we haven't found him yet. And You know, so I tell you what, call me, keep auditioning, and if you don't find anyone in like 3 months, call me and I'll think about it, you know. So in 3 months they called me and they said, we still haven't found anybody for this part. Can you come to New York? And I said, well, all right. And they said, we're gonna fly you up here and put you in a hotel, but we're gonna fly you economy. And I said, well, I tell you what, let me come first class. And if I get the part, you have to pick up that ticket. And if you don't cast me, I'll pay for the ticket. And they said, okay, that's fair. And so I went up and auditioned, and they gave me the part, and I didn't have to pay for it. And so, yeah. And I did 200 performances of 1776. I did 8 months, and I never missed a show. And yeah, it was thrilling. It was a great production. How many of you saw it? Hands? See, set one. Did you actually see it? Wasn't that good? Yeah, what'd you say?
Still got the soundtrack.
You got a soundtrack. There is a Broadway soundtrack. Somebody back there saw it, right?
Yeah.
Was I your favorite in it? No? Can we get security? But yeah, it was a wonderful show to be in. Great production. The director did an amazing job. Great choreographer. It was just a thrilling situation to be able to go back to New York after all those years and actually have the lead in a Broadway show was quite something.
I just recently had a chance to talk to William Daniels and asked him about him doing it for Nixon at the White House.
Oh yeah, I was just telling some of my friends about that the other night because they, as a result of, William Daniels, who is just this fantastic actor, he created the part of John Adams in the first Broadway production. You know him as the voice of Kit the car in Knight Rider, also as Mr. Feeney in Boy Meets World, right? That's what most people know him for. I knew him as he played Dustin Hoffman's father in The Graduate, which is an amazing part, and he was one of the 3 leads on one of the greatest shows ever, St. Elsewhere, and but wonderful actor.
And that's fun. You also did a while back. You did La Mancha.
Yeah, I did La Mancha. I did that in Los Angeles. Jason Alexander, who you may know from a little show called Seinfeld, had a theater in Los Angeles at UCLA, and he would do these productions. And he called me and said, would you play Don Quixote in Men of La Mancha? And I said, I don't really want to do that. And I said, really? And he said, yeah, it's great. And I'm like, I don't know, it's kind of a tired old show. And I said, tell you what, keep auditioning, and if you don't find anybody, I mean, really, that happens to me so often. Because my initial instinct is, I don't think I'm really right for that. I don't think I can do it. And so he called me back and he said, we didn't find anybody, and maybe you'll do it. And so I said, well, let me read the script again. And I read it and I thought, what, actually it's really good. And so I did this production. It was really an excellent production. The director had this concept that was wonderful, and it got wonderful reviews. And I actually thought about, I wanted to take it to London, that production, to either London or New York. And so the guy who held the rights at the time was a guy named Mitch Lee, who wrote maybe lyrics or something for it. I can't remember. He was the only one left, and they said, his representative said, no, he will not give you the rights to do this. And I went, why not? He said, no, he just won't do it. And I thought, well, so a year later, there hadn't been another production, and I thought, I'm gonna write it again. So I wrote him and I said, dear Mitch, he's a lyricist, so I said, dear Mitch, here's the sitch. Had an itch to do one more pitch, and I said, I really want to do this show. none of the productions on Broadway since the original had been really good because they kind of misunderstood the show. They did a big, huge show, and it's actually kind of a chamber piece. So I said, let me do it. I said, what would be so terrible if you actually got to see a production that was good? And he wrote me back and he said, I'm so glad you like my show, but Hugh Jackman's gonna do it. And I thought, no, he's not. He's not even right for it. And then he, Hugh Jackman never did it. And then I just went, okay, enough. I won't have to do it.
Well, I'm glad we had the time. I've always wanted to talk about your Broadway work, and thank you for indulging my capricious curiosity about it. Before I jump over to audience questions, on behalf of myself and everybody in the audience, I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for your talents. I want to thank you for your professionalism. And all of the things not just the time you wore the yellow contacts.
Well, thank you so much. You know what, when we do this again at the next convention, will you say that again?
I will.
Okay, good.
Okay. All right. So we want to do a line right here. Whoever has the first question, we'll get 2 pieces of candy. So batter up. And come on up, lady. Come on up. Hi, what's your name?
Amber. So, hello, fellow Texan, born in Pasadena. Real close. As you...
Pasadena, that's in California.
No. Okay, right? That's what I hear all the time, and I like the accent.
No. I know Pasadena.
I'm born by the plants in the trailer park, so. As you're traveling and doing all these things as a Texan, how do you survive eating food that's not from Texas?
I just dream. I mean, I just ate 3 of the best tacos I've ever eaten. But where are they from? Torchy's. Yeah, I just ate 3 Torchy's tacos. They were like, wow, do they travel? Can I take a dozen with me? And that was so good. Yeah, I miss Texas food.
There you go. All right. Hello, what's your name?
Hi, my name is Katrina Lee.
What's your name?
Katrina,
Katrina, hi.
and I'm from Houston, so I love Houston, but
Yeah,
I love
me
New
too.
Jersey. My question is, with the technology coming up with AI and very human-like robotics, do you see in the future maybe technology coming up with a very similar real character like you?
I certainly think it's possible. I think it's like likely even, and I just hope they're like data, and not like lore. We'll be in big trouble with. I was thinking about that. I was talking to Terry Metalis about it, and say, there is something interesting about if they do. This whole issue about AI and all that stuff, if they do AI of data, then it's AI of an AI. And does that create a vacuum or something? I don't know. But I have no problem at all with them scanning my face and using my voice and having a data who performs in space shows for the rest of the time, as long as they pay me.
Hi, I'm Freya.
Hi.
So this is about your book, fan fiction.
Yes.
I feel like there is a really unique sort of writing challenge to writing a character who is you, but also is kind of not you. I was wondering if you put a lot of effort into making the Brent Spiner character like you, or if there's sort of a rift between you and him.
Well, there's a rift between me right now and him. I'm not the real Brent Spiner. This is a character I'm doing. This is the panel Brent Spiner, I call it. But there's a certain amount of truth to that. I mean, you see people on talk shows, and that's not really them. I mean, that's the them of the talk show. But the Brent Spiner from Fresh Hell, that's a little book I wrote, by the way, if you people don't know about it. St. Martin's Press. Get it at your local Amazon. Anyway, no, there's certainly a lot of me in it, the real me in it, and some not the real me in it, and some of the stuff in it is true and some of it's not. And that was just the fun of writing it, was to heighten everything. Like, there are other characters in the book, like Patrick Stewart, but it's not actually Patrick, but it's close. But it's a riff on Patrick. I think what part of the thrill of writing it, part of the fun of writing the book for me, because it takes place in like the 3rd season of Next Generation, is that I got to write me as a younger person, you know. So I was like, I was doing things in the book I would never do now, but I would then maybe. Yeah, but I'm maturing, as you can see.
Great question. Thank you so much. Hi, what's your name?
My name is Lois, and I'm also from Houston. So.
What's your name?
Lois.
Lois, hi. Yeah, I remember from Houston, right?
Yeah. My question is, earlier today at Lavar Burton's panel, he said that you could get him to do anything that he normally wouldn't do on camera. How do you plan on abusing this power?
I'm so glad you brought it up. I wanted to, but I was like, I can't do it, but you can. Thank you.
I love having Lavar do things that are out of character for him, because Lavar has this image of being a just this fine person, this like and education is everything to him, and it's not him at all. He's evil. And he's fooled you all. He's a nice guy. But he's not, he's evil. No, he's terrific. And I just love working with him because we have fun working together. But he has done things that I don't think he would have done any other place. In some of the, I had a web series for a while called Fresh Hell. I don't know if you know about that, you folks here. And after you finish reading fan fiction, go to iTunes. Yeah, I think it's still on iTunes. We did like 16 episodes. We spent like about $1.50 to make them all, and it looks like it. But Lavar does an episode in the 2nd season that is really funny. And it's funny because of what I asked him to do, and he dove in and did it. I did also a thing called Brentwood that's probably on YouTube also, that Lavar played himself in, and was hilarious, but really not in his character particularly. But we just got to meet Mike Tyson. Does Mike do a panel?
No.
No. Well, good, okay, because I don't want this getting back to it. But, so it's me and Lavar and Gates, and we're going in to meet Mike, and I'm really excited to meet Mike Tyson. He's like a phenomenal cultural figure. And so Lavar said, what are you going to say? And I said, I'm going to be like just a normal fan, like, hi, Mr. Tyson. I just wanted you to know, I saw that time you ate Mr. Holyfield's ear. And I just wanted to know, have you ever eaten other ears? I'm wondering, what did they taste like? And Lavar said, I will give you $100. But I didn't do it, I was too scared.
I would have given you the whole bag of candy.
I mean, what if he hit me, even lightly. But I tell you what, I saw Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson had a podcast. I don't think he still has it. He's an amazing guy. I mean, on all sorts of levels. Obviously, he was like a phenomenon in his youth. And But I saw him do a Broadway show, a one-man show, and it was fantastic. He was great in it. But then he had a podcast with a friend of his or somebody he knew. They recorded it in New York, and it was in a recording studio. And one guy was on one side and Mike was on the other, and then they had the guest in the center. And I saw he had Shatner was his guest, Bill Shatner. And if that's on YouTube, you gotta look it up because it's amazing. It's like, starts out with Michael, well, we were here with Captain Kirk, and that's about the last thing he said. And then Shatner, in his way, goes, Mike, let me ask you a question. What is it like to be hit in the face? He really said that. Does it hurt? I mean, when you get hit, he goes, well, yeah, it hurts. He said, sometimes you don't even feel it. It's like, you go, really, you don't feel it? Well, no, because you're so, and he goes, well, let me ask you this, do you feel like you're like in a rage when you find it? And then Mike never asked another question. Bill went from one question for like an hour and a half. He never asked another question. It became Bill Shatner interviews Mike Tyson. It's fantastic if you get to see it. Anyway, sorry.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Round of applause for that. That took us down a fun rabbit hole.
David.
Hey, David.
As a fellow native Houstonian, go Cougs.
Go Cougs. You know, is there anyone here from Austin? Because it seems like everybody's from Houston.
It's a short drive.
Do you travel with me? Is that the deal? Yeah. Well, anyway, so go Cougs.
I was just wondering if you ever made it back to Houston very often, or if you ever had a favorite memory, particularly from Astros World.
Yeah, Astros World, yeah. I worked at Astros World the first summer it opened. It's gone now, right? Yeah. What's that? Is that what it is? Oh, Hanna-Barbera Land followed Astros World, and now they're gone too. And so am I. Yeah, that was. I love that summer. I mean, again, that summer, I was there. Randy Quaid was a clown. There were other people who, you know, they had a place called the Crystal Palace where they did like stage shows, and one of the people on the show was a guy named Jay Johnson, who you might know from the TV series Soap. He was his ventriloquist. Fantastic. Yeah, he was there. Of so many people, it was crazy. But when I started working at Astros World, I started as a gunfighter. They had gunfight shows, and so they hired 3 actors and 3 real cowboys, or 4 actors and 3 cowboys, and the cowboys hated us because they thought we were ridiculous. We were, you know, they were the real deal, and by the middle of the summer, they loved us, and by the end of the summer, they wanted to be actors, and they didn't want to be cowboys anymore. And but they were wonderful guys, but we had real Colt 44s that we had shells that were filled with like powder and toilet paper, so they were kind of blanks. But sometimes people get a little too close and they'd be sprayed with gunpowder. But we really had fun doing those shows. But this was 1968, and that summer, Robert Kennedy was shot. And the day after Robert Kennedy was shot, they made an announcement that they were ending the gunfights, you know, in his memory. And they called the press out, and they had, you know, cameras, and we were throwing our guns into the wheelbarrow, and that was all the gunfights. So we were out of a job. And my friend Trey Wilson, who is no longer with us, but you might remember him from, well, he was in the movie Raising Arizona, and he played Mr. Arizona, and he was also in Bull Durham, and he played the manager of the team in Bull Durham. And he was also in high school with us. But he and I got together and we said, we're out of a job unless we would come up. So we wrote a medicine show that took place on the back of a wagon. And one of us played the medicine man. We alternated playing medicine men, and there were all kinds of other characters. One of whom Randy Quaid played, and so they loved it, and they built a wagon, and we did the show for a long time. And actually, they did a TV special called The Pied Piper of Astros World with Soupy Sales and the Muppets. And I did the medicine man in that show, and it's got to be online somewhere. But I'm told till the very last day of Astros World, which was years later, they still were doing the medicine show, and they just had new actors every year doing the script we wrote. Yeah.
Where'd everybody go?
Oh, we're just about out of time.
There was a long line.
The girl with the hat came to come and get you.
Oh, no. Okay.
Anything on the horizon? You can share with us.
Well, there's nothing on the horizon for the rest of time.
Oh, wow.
No, I'm hoping there is, but there's this huge thing going on that's called a strike.
Yeah.
I really don't want to talk about it much because then I'll be kicked out of the union. But that's happening, and it's preventing a lot of work for a lot of really good people, and people are losing their apartments and their homes, and it's just wrong. They need an equitable deal, and that's all I'm going to say, because I don't want to say something that I'm not supposed to say.
But like I said before, we support SAG, we
Thank
support
you.
the Writers Guild.
We just, we gotta have something to watch, right? I mean, these guys are out of work. You're not gonna have anything to watch, and anyway.
I will get there.
Yeah, I know we will.
We will get there, and with the help of all of you who support it. And again, I know coming to these things, there's so many things we would ask them about the space show, and thank you so much for that. And but we had fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. Well, thank you, Austin.
Towards the stage, not on the stage, but towards the stage, please. We're going to take a picture of all of you and our amazing guest.
Okay.